The Seattle Kraken once again make a trade with the New York Rangers. Let's do a special squad cast to figure out which team won and which team can continue winning after the trade.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
But that's my next question for you. Talked about underperforming. Hey, we know about a first rounder underperforming, but still doing other things to impact the team and the game, even when the scoring touch just isn't there. So let's, put our, hands on a crystal ball here. What is the top end potential for a player like Kakko, regardless of team? Just what do you think, from what you've seen, he has the potential to be, but specifically on special teams? Because like I said, we need help on special teams, but what kind of a player, what kind of potential can we get from Kakko?
So I'll start with his floor, and then we'll kind of work our way to the ceiling. I think his floor is very, very safe, and that's one of the reasons why I think this is a nice pickup for the Kraken. At worst, you're going to get a player who will give you offensive production that's kind of in line with a third-line player. Now, again, that's not what you sign up for when you take somebody second overall, but sooner or later, you have to just kind of look at the player for what he is and kind of detach yourself from where he was drafted. So at the very least, I think you'll at least get that from an offensive production standpoint. As far as his ceiling goes, is he ever going to be, this big-time superstar, top 10 player in the NHL that just goes out there and dominates games? I have my doubts about that at this point. When you look at what he's done in his first, 5.5 seasons in the league, he'll have his moments every now and then, but there's very few of those like wow plays that you typically get from a player who's taken number 1 overall, taken number 2 overall, top 5, whatever it might be. Those have been kind of few and far between for the Rangers, for Kaapo Kakko over the years. So I don't know that he's ever going to be that kind of a player, but it goes back to what I just said a second ago. You have a very safe floor, and if you are to extend him at the end of this season, maybe you can do it for like $3 to $3.5 million per year. I mean, I think that's about right for Kakko, given, where he is in his career. At the worst, he will play up to that number. At best, maybe he exceeds it because maybe he does just need a change of scenery, and maybe he can get a fresh start here. Maybe he can finally find that potential. And getting back to one other thing, I just want to touch on one other thing from what we talked about a second ago. He's definitely not the guy that's going to stir up trouble. Those comments that we saw from him were very uncharacteristic, but again, I think they were completely justified based on everything that had happened and everything that had led up to that moment. Like I said, I think finally the frustration just kind of boiled over there. But again, if I'm the Kraken, I'm feeling very good about this because you've got a safe floor and a somewhat high ceiling. I wouldn't say it's astronomical, but certainly I think his best seasons could very well be in front of him. I think for sure.
Yeah, okay, that's good to know, especially given his attitude. I just think that his demeanor seems to fit in well with the Seattle Kraken. That being said, I still think that there's just a little sandpaper that this Seattle team needs. We're almost too nice and too polite, but also I'm from New York, so, what do you want from me? Last question I have for you, because I know we're going to get into more broader conversations on both of our teams, but given everything that you said about the floor and the ceiling, what is the prototypical what are the line mates for him look like? What does he need perhaps to really execute on that promise? Are there particular players or a style of play that you think fits him well?
Yeah, I think he's the guy that can do a little bit of the dirty work for you. He's somebody that can drive possession in the offensive zone. One of the things that he's always been capable of, but didn't start taking advantage of it until maybe the last couple of seasons here with the Rangers, is he can maintain possession of the puck for probably about as long as anybody on the Rangers, almost single-handedly. It's like it finally clicked a couple of years ago. Like, I'm a big guy and I'm a strong guy, and I can use this to my advantage. I can protect the puck from my opponents here. I can circle around and wait for my guys to come open. So I think if there's somebody on Seattle that's kind of like a sniper, you can definitely make that work with Kaapo Kakko. Because he can feed them, he can extend the offense's zone possession and eventually work a pass over to them, and they can take care of the rest. Kakko is not exactly fleet of foot. He's not, a speed demon. So if there's somebody that is on the Kraken, maybe that can work a little bit because they can kind of work off of each other in that regard. And, if he's with some faster line mates and they can pick him up in that perspective. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much what you're looking for there as far as, the ideal line mates for Kaapo Kakko. And, you mentioned special teams not too long ago. I think for sure he could use some more power play time. He gets very little of it with the Rangers. And Erica, I know Seattle's been struggling to score goals. I saw they have like 6 goals in their last 5 games or something like that. So it gets to a point, and I've gotten to this point with the Rangers. Maybe you're there with the Kraken as well. It gets to a point where you just got to try something different, especially on the power play. Rangers are 1 for their last 23 on the power play. It's time to try something different. And Kraken not scoring goals at all. I'd imagine the power play hasn't been very good. So maybe you toss Kakko out there and see what he can do.
Yeah, the possession thing, you had me at possession. We definitely need to do that. And yes, very curious. I was over here ringing my bell accidentally for that. But coming up, let's do a more broad strokes approach. What is realistic for these teams? And what do they need to do in order to reach their full potential before the season closes?
Erica, like we were saying, I figure we can close that today just by taking a quick look at where everything stands for both these teams that both have really, if we're being honest, have fallen short of expectations this season. But yeah, I mean, Kraken, obviously we've talked about their recent struggles, now 15, 19, and 2. Scoring goals has been an issue. Is that the biggest problem with the Kraken? Just a complete, lack of offensive firepower, or at least that's what's gone wrong recently, or are the problems, somewhat bigger than just that?
I mean, that's definitely the glaring problem, I think, is how I'll answer that question. But I think we have to go to what is the root cause. I don't think that it is a coaching. Well, we just made a coaching change. So even if it was, like, you got to stick with it, I think, at least for a little while longer. But that being said, I really don't think Dan Bylsma and his coaching staff are the issue. What honestly seems to be an issue, John, and it's something that I mention reluctantly when I talk about professional athletes, but I think there's a lack of confidence and a lack of accountability. And that last one, maybe even more so.
How would you assess your team's work through that first 20?
Unacceptable. Awful. We need better. Too many turnovers. We're lacking reload. We're diving in. They get way too many opportunities. This has to stop. We need to find a better way.
Joey's been phenomenal, obviously, but you might have the save of the period there coming through the blue with that cut, blocking that shot. What was your perspective of that play in that moment?
I mean, again, we gave up a 3-on-2, 3-on-1. Joey has to make a stop, and we're scrambling again. We got to get that out of our game.
All right, and then what do you guys need to do when it comes to just limiting their opportunities off the rush? How do you slow that down?
We got to put it deep and go to work. That's where we're successful. We have to stop making turnovers at the blue line. We got to put it deep and go to work. Trust our structure. Trust our play with the puck. And if we do that, we're going to be better. But this out there was not good enough.
But I think, again, the lack of confidence sometimes breeds and feeds, I should say, into the lack, of accountability. This is just a team that on paper should be able to do a lot more than what they're doing. And we'll see, as I sometimes say, brushes of brilliance, but it doesn't last. We had a time where we weren't starting periods or starting games well, and then we fix that, but then there's a massive drop off halfway through the first period, and boom, there goes the lead that you worked so hard, and that you can just feel that it deflates this team again, hence the confidence. But the accountability part is just doing the little things. I don't know that we have enough guys that are focused on the little things. I've been saying this for a while. It is an expansion team, but at some point you have to have someone that's going to say, hey, we gotta figure this out. So whatever it is, we're gonna sit in this room and we're gonna, do it piece by piece or bird by bird, like Anne Lamott might say. But I don't know who that leader is, and so that accountability piece sometimes is missing for me. But yeah, I think it manifests in offense. It manifests in puck, empty possessions. It manifests in not being able to win 50-50 battles, board battles. Those are things that if you want to win hockey games, you have to do. It's not that people necessarily like doing that. I mean, I was the kind of player that kind of liked mucking it up. Not everyone's built for that. And I get that. But at some point, if you are serious about winning games, you have to do it. There's no getting around it. You have to put in the hard work. And, I just think that this team, this reset, to use Dan Bylsma's term, this little break here is going to be telling. Is this a team that's going to really push and do whatever it takes? Or are they content to just be meh? I mean, they're mid at best right now, especially compared to their potential.
All right, today's very special crossover edition of Locked On Rangers and Locked On Kraken is brought to you by our very good friends over at FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it is not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel has so many different ways that you can pick up a W. It's fun to bet on players that'll score a touchdown or how many points will each team score, et cetera, et cetera. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Yeah, for sure. And it's crazy hearing you say all that because you could copy and paste almost all of it and apply it directly to the New York Rangers right now. I think the lack of leadership is really been showing up recently. Like I said, it's the veterans on this team just don't seem to have any real jump in their game right now. Even listening to their post-game comments, and I don't want to like completely overanalyze this because when things are going bad, you know, none of us are going to be happy with their explanations, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, they're just like, put a little bit of like oomph in your voice for once. Like, just let me know that you care a little bit.
Right.
They seem so like just down and sad all the time. And I know that losing isn't fun, but at a certain point, you got to just stand up and fight your way through it. And like I said, I think what makes this even more frustrating is that this is largely the same team that had the best record in hockey last year. Now, they lost a few players. Barclay Goodrow was obviously a veteran leader in that locker room, but was he this important? I mean, maybe he was at this point.
Yeah.
You kind of just, you don't really know. But yeah, all this drama, you know, with the memo going out about we might trade Trouba, we might trade Kreider. Trouba eventually does get traded. Maybe there's guys worried about their future with this team thinking they're going to be dealt, but the best way to stop all that is to put forth a better effort and win some games. And you know, you mentioned the Kraken. There's games where they start fast and then they fizzle out. And then there's games where the opposite happens. You know, they start slow and then they pick it up, but it's too late. Same exact thing for the Rangers. This team cannot play a full 60 to save their lives. Just yesterday, they came out flying. They scored a goal 17 seconds into the action, played what I thought was a great first period against the Canes, and then just died after that. You know, the second period was a mess and the third wasn't much better. So it's frustrating. I mean, there's no like magic formula or anything like that to fix it. I think, like you said, it comes down to a confidence thing and a focus thing. And right now, it sounds like both these teams are struggling in that aspect.
Yeah, and you mentioned leadership. I think it's super hard when you have Jordan Eberle, who came out the gate really ready to go. He also got an extension recently, named our second ever captain officially, and then he gets an injury where he has to have pelvic surgery and is out for a minimum of 3 months. And I mean, I just feel like, you know, lower body bones in that area, 3 months is generous, you know, especially for a guy, you know, on the quote unquote wrong side of 30. So, you know, I think you can use that as an excuse, but it shouldn't be. Because, you know, you mentioned guys wearing letters. There's other leadership there, right? I think when Vince Dunn came back, he gave a little bit of that, like you said, that oomph, or as I sometimes say, that sandpaper. But it can't just be coming from one guy, and it can't be, you know, transactional, or you know, it has to be just a flame that you light and it doesn't go out. It's not, you know, just cutting it on and off when you feel like it. Again, you have to commit to that style. You have to commit to that. And I think it's just the commitment, some of the trust, some of the confidence. And these are things that the good news, I guess, is that they can be fixed. The frustrating part is that I think it sounds like maybe neither one of our teams right now is taking the steps, or even maybe really knows what the first step is. Today's crossover episode of Locked On New York Rangers and Locked On Kraken is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. If you love sports, then you're going to love Prize Picks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or one of your other favorite sports or leagues, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in on the action. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away over $30 million in rewards during Pixmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your pick hits, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly on Prize Picks. Prize Picks, run your game. So yeah, you wanna score goals if you're the Kraken on the power play. Of course, that's going to help. You get new blood like Kakko. We brought back Daniel Sprong, which I think was more of a maybe trying to get in guys' head move than anything, because he's been a healthy scratch a bunch of times. But I think that there has to also be a commitment, and I've been saying this for a while, from the front office as well. They have a job. Their job is to put together a roster. They don't control the outcome. But I do think that we have shortchanged some of what could be an even better team if we make less conservative moves, just kind of take a leap and kind of cut things off and cut things loose when they're not working. So again, we got rid of a head coach. I think anyone in sports, all of sports, will tell you if the GM can strike first, that's what they're going to do. I wasn't thrilled with Dave Haxtell, but I would have preferred a front office change, whether that's in mentality or personnel. But I guess we'll see now, because we have a new coach and it's still not clicking. So, and that's the frustrating thing, right? All of the conversation about, in your case, we were one game away from being able to compete for the Seattle Kraken. It's like we got to, game 7 of the second round and then completely sputtered out the very next season. So wait till next year. I'm a Mets fan. I hear that all the time. We believe, you got to believe, wait till next year, all those things. And next year is here and you're still not seizing the opportunity.
Yeah. No, I was actually going to ask you about that. I'm glad you brought that up because, 2 years ago, it looks like the Kraken, hey, they've put the pieces together quickly. Here's this expansion team. They're going toe-to-toe. They knock out the Avalanche in 7 games. Just a dogfight of a series against the Stars, I believe it was, in the second round.
Oh, man.
And they seem like they're on the rise, but then they missed the playoffs last year, and this year not really looking all that great either. So, how frustrating is that as a fan? Because you thought you were there. You thought you were getting close to being a serious contender. Yeah,
it's really frustrating. I know Mets fans right now are reeling about the big Juan Soto catch. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, realness, but Mets, we get them too early or too late. And I'm starting to feel like I hopped on another too early, too late bandwagon. I just think, again, we give us 2 7 and 7. So 7 years, $7 million AAV to two guys. I need Chandler Stevenson to freaking be a rock star out there. At that price, Brandon Montour, I think, has been better for us, especially in the absence of Vince Dunn. But to your point, it's extremely frustrating. I saw it coming last year. I don't know how anyone thought that was going to be a successful team. Injuries did not help. But what I used to say is, we put too many eggs in the Andre Burakovsky basket. For 2 seasons, he was the guy that we expected to score. And for 2 seasons, he could not stay healthy. I think maybe you say the same about Philip Grubauer. Big contract. And there are times where that man has a freaking bazooka-sized hole in his glove. It's just, it hasn't worked out. Some of that freak accidents, some of that overworking goaltenders. I think we have a huge problem there. But at the end of the day, all things being level, I don't think that that's a good contract for us. And we've seen goalie trades this season, John. Yep. Not from Seattle. So we're putting a lot on Joey. Not enough goal support, I will say, for Philip in his tenure with the Kraken. But that's not all of the story. It's definitely a part of the story, but it's not all of it. And so making some of the tough decisions a little bit sooner is, I think, what has to happen. And that's not going to come from the players, of course. I already talked about that. They've got to figure out the on the ice thing. Like, this is your roster. You got to figure that out. But beyond that, I just wonder from the state of the franchise, like, how much longer can we play this kind of double Dutch conservative, but then we give these massive contracts out every once in a while because, yeah, I've been a Mets fan my whole life, and I don't like that feeling all the time.
I get where you're coming from. I'm a Yankee fan, but I know what you mean. And congrats on Soto, by the way. But
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I've been, like I said, been a Mets fan long enough to know that I want to see it first.
I hear you. I hear you. But yeah, I mean, as far as the Rangers and Kraken, I mean, bottom line, teams are the sum of their parts, and there's just too many players on both these teams that just are underperforming.
Yep.
I talked about this the other day. There's one player on the Rangers who's having a better season this year than last year, and that's Will Cooley, and it's his second year in the league. So you expect that. He had a good rookie season, but you expect him to build on that. Everybody else has taken a step back, and I mean, you see the result, and it sounds like it's the same deal with the Seattle right now. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, here's hoping that our teams figure it out. It would sure make it more pleasant to show up every day. But you know, a good old rant is kind of fun too.
That's always a good thing. So yeah. Yeah, for Erica L. Ayala, myself, John Chick, we want to thank you guys as always for tuning in. Erica, this is a ton of fun. Happy to do this whenever you're feeling up for it.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Love talking to you, John. Wishing you and all of your viewers and listeners a happy holiday season. Happy New Year.
Amen to that. And same to you and all of your listeners as well. And Ranger fans, Kraken fans, we'll see all you guys next time.
All right, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with John Chick. I know I really enjoyed getting to know a little bit more about Kaapo Kakko. I especially enjoyed hearing John's question as to who the good line mates might be for Kaapo. And we're going to talk about that because I've been saying I really want him to play with Beniers, but is there a better pairing than Beniers and Kakko? We'll talk about it in the coming days on Locked On Kraken. Until then, it is Christmas Eve. If you're watching this on the day we debut it, Merry Christmas to all who celebrate. Happy Hanukkah. We've got Kwanzaa coming up, and of course, the New Year. So wishing you and yours just a happy and safe, healthy holiday season. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Hold fast, stay true, and let's go Kraken. I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.